So the question is why we chose, what vehicle we chose for this video, along with the build. And you ready?
Yeah.
So the reason we chose a 1976 Chevy Blazer, and we chose it for a few different reasons. Number one, I love Chevys, and Chevy Blazer is one of my favorite vehicles. So I get a lot of inspiration from other guys and just watching things online and stuff. But this particular vehicle was pretty special to me. It had an outrageous color, which is pretty flashy. It's a color that's out of the ordinary. It's an orange Chevy Blazer. It is on airbags. It slams all the way down to the ground. So it's a very cool car. So I wanted to choose a vehicle that was very cool, that stands out, that says, hey, I'm over here, without having to say anything. So that was one of the main reasons that we chose this vehicle. But on top of that, some of the other reasons would be the fact that this vehicle doesn't really have a good audio system. In fact, it has a pretty crappy audio system. It's got a couple 3-inch drivers, speakers in the dashboard, which is a horrible location. It doesn't have any bass. They're very small speakers. It sounds horrible. So what we wanted to do is we want to take a vehicle that didn't sound good but had lots of room for growth. And this particular build was cool because we can start panels from scratch. So meaning that we don't have to put a speaker in the door because it's already there. We can put the speaker wherever we want, wherever we can make room for. My best suit is going to be custom fabrication, and that really that was a big flag for me. That's a big sign for me when I see a vehicle like this that's pretty bare metal, solid American steel. I can basically take this vehicle and build whatever I want with it, especially since I've already done a bunch of these. So I know the do's and don'ts of these vehicles. I've probably built hundreds of these over my career. And the cool thing is, like for example, the kick panels, we built those from scratch. I already knew the speaker fit in there because I've already done a bunch of them. And because of my fabrication expertise, I knew that I could throw a couple of small techniques or little quickie techniques in there to make the kick panels look much better than anybody else's build on the block. And I know that because I'm constantly building these things. So one of the other things that we wanted to do is we wanted to incorporate this customer's theme. Like his dream was to build something that was out of the box, out of the ordinary. And so that's something that we all have to challenge. It's a challenge for all of us. We all have to approach getting out of our comfort zone. And so it's an orange vehicle. So we saw a bunch of vehicles online, and we looked at, some of them were black interior, gray interior, very common flat single color interiors. And so I suggested to him that we look at other color options and materials, because in his mind he was okay with doing black carpet. And so I showed him a couple of examples as to some other vehicles we had built where we incorporated some other colors that would be against the grain, against what you would normally use. And so we chose a color called ivory, which is a tan vinyl. And even though you would say that black and tan don't really go together that well with orange, that's kind of the whole idea behind choosing those colors. So we chose a tan and black, and what we want to do is do the tan on most of the outskirts. So the outsides of the seats will be in tan, and the center will be a black insert. We'll do the same thing with the center console. We'll do the tan outsides, and center insert will be black, along with the dash pad will be wrapped in the tan material, with the instrument cluster being black center. So that's kind of our theme. We're going with the center black with the tan outside. And I know orange and tan don't go together super well, but I think in this case, I think we'll be able to knock it out of the park. One of the other things that inspired us for this build is we want to do an off-the-wall center console. So I took a little bit of inspiration from one of my colleagues, Mr. Matt Schaefer. And Matt did a floating armrest console in a Thunderbird, I believe, years ago. And so it's something I always wanted to do. I did something similar to it years ago, but I really like the way Matt did it in his build. So I ran it past the customer, and the customer said, no problem. I like the concept. I love the idea. And so what I did is I took Matt's idea and kind of put my little twist on there. But definitely some of the inspiration was from other fabricators in our industry. Well, so one of the other things that inspired me on this build is the way I would build my own car. So a lot of these cars, when the customers give me the building freedom, so the creative freedom, when they give me that, then they're telling me that I can do whatever I want with it. And because I'm already kind of a Chevy guy and I'm really familiar with these vehicles, some of the inspiration that's in this vehicle are things that I would have done in my own vehicle. So should I do that again? Should I say that one more time?
I think it's real.
I mean, okay, sorry, I had a call from my dent guy.
You got business.
So anyway, yeah, one of the main things is that I built this vehicle just like it was mine, and I do that with a lot of the customers that give me that creative freedom. I treat it like it's my own. It's my baby. I'm gonna do whatever it is that I would do to my own car, and I know sometimes it's not in the budget, but we're gonna make it in the budget. Whether I have to sacrifice a few hours of my life or nights, I will stay late to do it. I'll burn that midnight oil to make sure that that customer is happy, because that's what I want. I want them to have the experience that I have when I build something for myself. Something that they have that's a one-off. Nobody has what they have because I made it and I only made one. And that's what I try to do. I build things that are one-off. I try not to duplicate it. I don't want one customer to say, that guy made me the exact same thing. In my book, there are no two that are the same. Everything is a one-off. It's a custom build made specifically for that vehicle, specifically for that customer, and specifically for one task. And that is for this customer to have a super cool car, because that's what he wants in the end. He's got an orange truck. He wants people to look at him. Now he's going to have great sounds, and he's going to have a matching interior. It's all going to complement one another. Is it a little outrageous? Absolutely. But that's what we're here for. We're here to get that customer to have that vehicle that doesn't get lost in the crowd. You know, he's wearing that yellow hat or that orange hat. That's that guy. That's his vehicle. So installation expertise, electrical and operational integration. So I'm going to explain to you just two different kinds of builds. Two different kinds of builds that we're doing. And are we going already?
Oh yeah.
All right. So operational and electrical. So my installation expertise, I like to say that I have two of them. And my biggest one would be custom fabrication. And the reason I say that is because it's very easy for us as fabricators to post something on social media and get immediate results. You get a bunch of likes, you get a bunch of comments. It's very easy for you to get good feedback. Unfortunately, one of my other areas of expertise is wiring. So
Unfortunately?
And I say that because it's very unfortunate that we can't show, people don't get as excited about wiring as they do fabrication. So you can build the amazing sound system with super clean wiring and have quick disconnects, fully serviceable, and we do this. But we don't show that in the installation because people don't get as excited. They get excited when they see you build a kick panel, a speaker box, a center console, a dashboard, whatever it is, a pod, a gauge pod. That excites people because they know you created something for nothing. The wiring aspect, it took me years to really perfect that. And this means that I learned a lot of things on the way. Like, I used to use butt connectors. I used them for years. I used to use crimp caps. And there's nothing wrong with the connection of a crimp cap or a butt connector, but they're ugly. And they don't look like factory. In fact, they don't look anything close to what should be in a vehicle. So a few years ago, we took all the connectors, crimp caps, and we threw them in the trash. I mean, literally threw them in the trash. And we decided to solder and heat shrink all of the connections that we could, assuming that we were not able to use a quick disconnect. So that being said, all of our wiring harnesses look perfect. Some of them look better than factory, but most of them are there to mimic the factory wiring. That's why we use these tapes, the Tessa tapes, the JK tapes, the Scotch tapes, inside and outside, interior and exterior cloth tapes. That's why we're using these, because these are the same elements that you can find in a vehicle from factory. So if you open a BMW, for example, all the wire is wrapped in Tessa tape. So we try to mimic that. We want to make it look like factory, like nobody's been in there. Plus, when we do a really clean job, instead of shoving spaghetti in the dashboard like I've seen other guys do with butt connectors and crimp caps, I think that the dealers really respect us. When they take a car part that we work on here at my shop, they disassemble it And they respect the fact that we took the time out to do it right. And I would do the same thing. When I see vehicles done by professional shops, I take them apart and I admire what they've done. And I say, hey, whoever did this really took the time out. That's what we do. We make sure that somebody that's going to look at it, take apart our work, is going to know that we took a lot of care, a lot of pride in that installation. So because of that, all of our wiring is run like factory. So if we disassemble a car, we lay the wiring down in the vehicle and we run it right alongside the factory wire harness. So we make sure that it looks like factory, if not better. So because of that, sometimes it's hard to even take a picture of it, because if I post a picture of it, people say, I don't get it. What did you do? Well, it looks so factory that you can't tell what we did. So that leaves us only a little bit of area, and that would be like our amplifiers and our radio installation. So that's where we address that wiring, and that's where we can dress it up and we can make it look perfect. So even besides it looking perfect, we want to make sure it's fully functional. So we try to label all of our wiring, put quick disconnects where they need to be. In other words, if there's a panel that can be removed, we make sure that we have a quick disconnect. Tweeters is very important. A lot of manufacturers or dealerships will disassemble the A-pillars in a vehicle to do some kind of service. We want to make sure that the tweeter is removable without having to cut our solder and heat shrink. Therefore, we'll install a quick disconnect right at the tweeter pod to make sure that they're able to service the vehicle in that location. So here we are removing the cluster from the 76 Blazer. This is the original cluster. It has all the original plugs. And we will be replacing it with a Dakota Digital, which is a little bit nicer. It's a brand new technology. And this is like what they call a resto mod. So this will be a modern item in an older vehicle, make it seem like a modern car. And it'll slide right in here. So these are some of the tools we will be using for the installation of the new cluster. Here's the new one, Dakota Digital. This is for the 76 Blazer. We're back on the Blazer, and we will be doing a Dakota Digital instrument cluster installation. This is the new set of gauges here. These are Dakota Digital. It's meant to look like an old school car, but all these are brand new functioning gauges. Okay, there's the back of this. The original one is more of a hard wire. There you can see it, a little bit different style there. Okay, and both of these fit behind the original bezel, which is really nice because it looks like original, but you got all the modern features. Now, the cool thing about the installation is that you really only have to install a brain, and all of the wires normally go from the original harness, which comes out of the original cluster, and you basically cut the end off and you hardwire them right to this unit. We will be installing some of that today. Some of it's going to be mainly power, ground, turn signal indicator, high beam switch, but all of the other features come with their own sending units. So these cables here are for our 3 units that come with this kit, and they basically have water temperature, oil pressure, and speedometer. These are all the fittings that we use. They come with different fittings for different vehicles, because a lot of these older cars have different size fittings for their engine blocks. So the cool thing about this installation is that this particular vehicle already has a modern engine in it. So it has what we call an LS motor swap. So this has all the modern electronics. So it doesn't really have the old style sending units like these have. Everything goes through a computer. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the signal from that computer and we're gonna run it through our OBD connector, okay, which plugs in right under the dash there. And it's gonna plug into our BIM 0102. This is Dakota Digital Speeds, and it transfers all the bus information from the vehicle computer to our new style gauges. So basically it's just gonna be the communication between these 2 boxes. So between this box and this cluster will all go through the bus. So these pieces here will not be used in this installation. So that cuts down a lot of the time. That's how you save time. So whenever you quote something like this, you gotta be careful you don't underquote the time or overquote. But that's our worst case scenario. Best case scenario, we're gonna be able to plug into this OBD and everything's gonna work perfect, okay? So
So in other words, this is going to be like factory fit and finish.
Correct. So this is going to look like original, but it's going to be modern technology. Okay. So the way we're going to keep some of that actually is, I should say, these are some of the tools we'll be using. We're going to solder and heat shrink most of our connections if they require. Okay. And then we like to use our cloth tapes here. I know this is a Tessa tape. I'm sure you guys have seen that. This is a cloth tape. I know this is made by Scosche. It's just a different brand. Everybody likes their different brands. For me, it's whoever shows me love. So these are crimpers, wire cutters that we'll be using, and we will mainly be using for testing purposes the multimeter, which what everyone should use. This is what everybody should use. Now, I know a lot of people are gonna say they don't use this, but the truth is that they do use these. This is a power probe, and we hook it to power and ground on the battery, and it gives us a ground lead here, and then the ability to test here. So this is kind of a multimeter. But the cool thing about this is you can actually send power or ground, and it'll give you other readings on this display here. So I know like a lot of guys are gonna say you have to use a multimeter, and I would agree with you in most cases, but in this particular case, we at the shop here, and I think all the shops actually do it, we use this this connector here, or this tool here, for an older car installation like this, because it doesn't have any airbags in it. We don't really have a onboard computer inside the vehicle, so I think we'll be fine. So here are the modules that we installed from Dakota Digital, and they are the ones that are going to control the new instrument cluster. There's the BIM module and the main module. So the Dakota Digital gauges on these laser. Okay, so there's a couple things that I want to talk about that we do use here at the shop. There's a few tools. We have this Phonics PAA03, I believe it's called, and this is our real-time analyzer. And so this is one of the devices we use for checking to see if we have full audio, full frequency response coming out of different speakers and stuff. If we're doing tweeters, mids, this is how we're able to detect what type of system we have in the vehicle. And then from there, we're able to either sum channels or just use some that have full range signal. Okay, so this is a very important tool for us. We also use our laptop. The laptop's also used with an RTA, and we use a couple of different programs on there, along with Andy Waymeyer's Audio Frog disc, and which he has mono pink noise, and then his microphone. So we have a couple other devices here. This is our little kit for our microphone. And then one of the tools that I have the guys use constantly is something that's very, very simple. It's a Steve Me DD1 distortion detector. And this is basically like a mini oscilloscope. So it basically helps us set our gains on our amplifier. So it sets the level of the amplifier. We know where it's distorting, where it's not distorting. And something that everyone should purchase, and it's not very expensive. We got this from Mobile Solution. I think it was $100. This is a polarity tester. So this tells us if our speakers are wired correctly. We're humans, we make mistakes. So this is a tool which should be used on a daily basis. So these are some of the tools that we use here at the shop. There are a few others, but with this laptop, we're able to do our tuning, and that's something that we take a lot of pride in. And it's another way to make money, just getting tuning money. One of the other things that we do that a lot of people around us do not do is we like to twist our wires together. So we'll take the speaker leads and we'll twist them together, and I think that gives us a little bit of a signature. So it shows whenever I see a vehicle that has twisted wires, I say, hey, that's somebody that either trained under me, or that was actually done here, or by somebody that I know, that I've trained in the past. That separates us from everybody else. Just twisting the wires together. I know it sounds silly, but that's one of the things that we do. And it's easy to label things like that. When you twist wires around and they're all the same, they're color coordinated, that means that we're able to service it, and somebody else can go in there and they don't have to figure out what we did. They can actually look at the wiring, and the way it's a nice uniform, the green wires are twisted together, the purples, the blues, whatever it is, then they know that there is a uniform system in that installation, so they're able to do that. One of the other great things that we do is we actually follow the rules, and we fuse every power line. There's not a power line that rolls out of here that is not fused. And I've seen a bunch of different guys do installation where they don't fuse it, And I've even seen some cars catch fire. That's not going to happen here. We make sure that everything is fused. Every power circuit is fused no more than 12 inches, 18 inches from the battery, because we want to make sure that it's safe for the customer to drive. We don't want a guy driving down the street, he gets super hot, he gets a pinched wire, whatever it may be, and his car catches fire. You can go online right now and you can find a bunch of videos of customers that don't know what they're doing, try to do it themselves, and they don't know where to put their fuse holders and their fuses, and so they burn up the car. We want to make sure that doesn't happen, so everything here is done for safety. It's really, that is the most important thing, because I don't want to be responsible for a vehicle that goes out of here that catches fire. And that's the way I protect myself. I put a fuse on everything where I think there could be a circuit, a short circuit or something. I always put a fuse holder. In our installation, cosmetic integration is very, very important. We want to make sure, number one, we're going to try to hide as many screws as possible. So we don't want to show any of the hardware that was used to assemble these pieces. We want to make sure that's hidden. So this is a 76 Chevy Blazer, and what we've done is we've gone ahead and made a kick panel location for the 6.5 Audison and the 6.5 components at QUATER. Okay, and all we did was we took the factory kick panel, which is normally solid. We cut a 6.5 inch hole in it, and we cut a 1 inch hole in it for the tweeter, ran wires in there, and then sealed off the cavity inside so we don't get any moisture inside of the cavity. And pretty simple. We just basically cut that hole, make sure it lines up perfect. But before we did that, we went ahead and carpeted the entire area. Reason being is we're gonna make a press grill here that will actually show some of this area, and we didn't want it to look choppy, so we made sure it was nice and even. And we just picked a black carpet, nothing special. It doesn't even match this, but behind the grill is very difficult to tell. So one of the biggest things, I guess, the most difficult part of this is cutting the hole. And this is an American steel, so make sure you have a nice sharp blade and a nice saw. Okay, we use a body saw. Other companies call it air saw. And basically, it's just going to make it so you can cut a hole this way. It's a reciprocating blade. Okay, so by doing that, makes it a little bit easier, but it's still tough to cut. It's not easy. I mean, I won't say, you know, it's going to take you 5 minutes. It's probably going to take you 20 minutes, 30 minutes minimum, I would say. This is a custom-made kick panel. Okay, it's made out of two-piece plastic. Okay, and then we did use some 1/4 inch MDF. And we basically just wrapped it in a vinyl, okay, that we're gonna do throughout the whole vehicle. And we pressed the grill inside there. And what I like to do is I like to hide the screws so you don't see any of the hardware. And what I've done is I've taken a ring, which is right over here, and I made it exactly the same area that would fit, slides right in there, pressure fit.
Wow.
And it hides that screw. So it does take a little bit of technique for this. You have to get a couple router bits that'll allow you to make the perfect size insert on there. So you can pressure fit. We actually even gapped it for this vinyl. So this material is 1/32. So, and basically this just basically slides.
Oh wow.
Super slide.
That's very nice.
Super slick there.
And you didn't buy this, you made this.
I made this, of course. Okay, and then one screw. Okay, that holds it in.
Fantastic.
And then now we put our little insert here, cover up our ugly area and our screw mount.
Look at that.
And there you go. It's out of sight, out of mind. You know, back when manufacturers started putting cars together, I know they had a lot of exposed screws and they would use stainless steel screws or chrome screws to dress that up. Times have changed. The manufacturers have changed. They've adapted. They've grown. That's what we need to do. We need to grow, we need to adapt to what's out there. And there are a bunch of different techniques for us to hide all of this gear. We're making panels that fit in flush, perfect, no gapping. Why not incorporate some of the hardware in these panels? I mean, it's the right way to do it. Some of the builds that we're doing are gonna enhance the factory system. And so we try to take some of the design principles that were installed that were incorporated during the design process. We want to take some of this, I call it the DNA of the vehicle. We want to take some of this DNA from the vehicle and we want to incorporate it into our build. Make sure that our stuff fits, looks just like, if not better than the factory stuff, because that's what we're doing. We're putting a piece. We don't want to put round peg in a square hole. You want to make sure that everything flows. So whenever we take a vehicle in, some of the first things we look at is the layout of the vehicle. If it's a very square vehicle, we try to stay away from so many round shapes. If we have a very bubbled vehicle, we want to stay away from so many square shapes. Some vehicles have both, some of them have very poor design. Those are the older ones, I feel. I think the new ones are getting a lot better, and so are we. So we need to grow like them. We need to grow like the manufacturers. Just how they're incorporating all of these shapes and designs into their builds, we have to do the exact same thing. Unless it's like a fully custom, I guess. If you're just building your own thing and it doesn't matter what the vehicle, it's an outrageous over-the-top build, then yeah, you're going to build whatever it is you think. So, but yeah, sometimes the customer's ideas do work. They say, hey, I want you to do this, and you try to talk them out of it, or you try to explain to them why it won't work. But in the end, guess what? Sometimes it does work. And we take that and we learn from it. And we say, hey, here's a time where I was totally out of my comfort zone. This guy was telling me to build something, but I said, no, let's not build it. And he forced me to build it. And in the end, I did the best I could. And believe it or not, the results were amazing. And customers are like, wow, that looks better than I thought.
Yeah.
Because we incorporate their ideas with my ideas.
That makes it better.
And our ability to build it and our techniques. Because like it or not, all this stuff is just a different technique. You know, anybody can slap Bondo on a panel. But realistically, this is about technique now.
I'm the king.
So you have a 1976 Chevy Blazer.
I'm the king of rock. I'm
And
the
you're
king
gonna
of rock.
make a what?
A center console.
How big? No, seriously.
Like 4 feet.
Oh my god. Okay. So
gonna
it's
be
a big. So you're gonna do the whole thing.
Yeah, I'm going to do from front to back. So it'll start at the dashboard. And it will have a radio up front. And it will also house a the airbag switches, the power window switches, 2 cup holders, and a wireless cell phone charger. And then we're going to make an armrest. And if we have some room, we'll put a...
All of that in a center console.
Yeah, and it's a pretty small area, but I think we can get it handled in there. So this will be like the head unit. I'm just gonna freehand this. I'm not a very good artist, but I can build like a mofo.
Do you know what kind of head unit you're gonna want?
Kenwood, we've already got it. This will go like this. And then what we're gonna do is up here in the back, we're gonna make
What am I looking at?
an armrest. You're looking at a side view.
I don't get it.
Yeah, most people won't. You almost have to see it done for it to work.
Whoa.
It'll follow the console, the contours of the car, and then what we'll do is, just so you get a little bit better understanding, I'm going to try to 3D it for you.
Huh? Oh, kind of. Are you drawing it upside down?
Yeah, well, I'm drawing it this way, so
Oh, wait. Okay, so
see what's
that's
going on.
that's the radio.
That's the radio.
Where's the radio facing?
The radio's facing forward. I just did that for
Oh, so they're looking this way.
correct.
Okay.
Now-
so the person's over here.
Correct. This is the driver's seat, and this is the passenger seat.
Okay.
Okay. And then here, what we're going to do is we're going to make a cool armrest here. And this armrest will basically be kind of free floating, if we were to say, if we could say that. Okay.
What's making you do a C-notch armrest or a...
Just trying to be something different. Actually, so whenever we design something, we want to make sure that it kind of goes with the car. And so he's got some door panels that were already kind of designed by somebody else. So we're going to try to incorporate that into our own square body build, because this is a pretty square vehicle. So I'm going to put a little bit of curve in the dash itself, or in the console itself. And one of the things here that I'm not showing, because I really don't know how to draw it from a side view, but I can draw it from a bird's eye view. So I'm going to make the console start off kind of wide, and it's going to narrow in almost like a factory console does. It's going to narrow in here.
Oh.
Okay, so if the radio's here,
Curves in and outward?
correct. So if the radio was here, let's say,
How do you jig cut that?
Plastic. So this side pieces are made out of plastic, and that's how we're able to contour them. So we'll make
How do you
it.
cut plastic like that?
Well, we can cut it on the router, but we're gonna bend it with heat. And what we'll do is we'll make a jig that'll be pretty much this shape. And we heat up this side here, and this side we put heat on this side, and we'll clamp it together. So if we clamp these,
Brilliant. I know exactly what you're saying.
we've got a couple clamps. We clamp that together, and
What
that
do you heat
will
it up
make
with?
this- heat gun. We just have a heat gun. It's like a hair dryer.
Just a
the one you use
regular,
for your hair.
Have you done this before?
Never. But it's gonna work. One other
How do you
thing.
know it's gonna work?
It has to work. It has to work. We don't have an option. So the other thing that I'm going to incorporate here in the console is I want it to look like the front console and the back console kind of blend
Oh,
together.
that's cool. I see what you're doing a little bit.
So
That's
what,
cool.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a lip here like this, and it'll just be like a little accent lip here. And we'll do this. We'll color this in. They say we'll do this. I'm thinking we'll do this in a black trim. Okay. And so we're going to contrast it. So we're going to have a black trim here, probably something like this. Come in like this. So we'll have that black trim come in, and then that'll be where our transition point is. So basically this console will
Transitions
be separate.
what? Color to color?
Back console to front console.
So this is narrow and this is fat?
Backwards. This one is fat and narrows, and then the narrow is in the back. It continues because it has to fit in between the seats.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll start with something like this. I know it's not a very good drawing, but trust me, I could build this. And also here we're gonna add a couple cup holders. And they'll probably have to go vertical versus horizontal, only because we don't have the real estate. And then we're also gonna incorporate his airbag switches will be in here in a removable bezel. Okay, so that, and then here in the front, probably gonna make some kind of cell phone charger or holder here in the front. And then here we will also add the power window switches, which are the old school classic looking GM traditional switches.
Are you going to put USB plugs there, or what are you going to do there?
No, we're trying to keep it nice and clean. He is going to have, right below this console, we're going to add a wireless charger for his cell phone. And then if we have to, we have the USB for the radio that will run inside the console. And if we want to use it in the future, we can definitely just drill a hole out anywhere, just depending where the customer wanted. He didn't really request that as of now, because he does have a head unit that will do everything Bluetooth. He's got the ability to wireless charge, so he really doesn't have a need for it. But in the future, if he does want to change phones or whatever technology might change, then we just run the USB cable and we run it all the way to the back here, mount it, and then he'll have a charging port. Okay. So that, and then we're also going to do black inside here. So this whole area, whatever you see me shading in right now, will be in black, and the outsides will be in tan.
Beautiful.
So this will all be black.
Wow.
Okay, so we'll start there. And we're doing this for a couple of reasons. One of them is we want it to look super cool. And I am an expert at making your eye go wherever I want it to go when you look at something.
Okay.
So we're trying to take away from the kick panels a little bit. The kick panels are a little bit square, which is fine because they're down low. But I want, when somebody looks in the vehicle, I want their focus to be that center console. It is the center of attraction. Yeah, that's right. That's what we want. We want everything in the center. So we're going to make sure that we concentrate on that center point. It's like a centerpiece.
So this is a big deal. This center console should be a big deal?
100%. This is one of the biggest. This and the speaker enclosure are going to be the most important factors in this vehicle build. Everything else is going to make to be look like it blends, but the center console and the subwoofer enclosure, we want those things to pop, and that's what we're doing here. We're going to make it pop in the center. It's going to flow all the way down the center of the vehicle. That's where your eye will go whenever you look in the vehicle.
Oh man, I want to come back and get this. Okay, let's get it. Let's do it. So it's a 76 Chevy Blazer, and Jaime is doing an entire custom-made everything.
Audio/interior.
Audio/interior. Right. So, what are you gonna do right here in this entire centerpiece?
So we'll do a center console here with an armrest that goes here. We're gonna try to do a C shape from one of the, inspired by one of the other guys. Matt Schaefer does one like that in one of his videos.
Okay.
I like the concept. Customer okayed it, so we're gonna go with something like that. This console will be up high here. It'll be a C channel, like so. And then down here we'll have the radio, small panel. So basically these two pieces will make one console, and they'll overlap each other a little bit in the center. Okay, so I'll have
cup holder, switches. We're gonna have the airbag switches will be inside, incorporated inside of it. And then he'll also be able to remove them if he wants to pull it outside. So this will go something like this. This will go something like this. Radio's gonna end up here. And then what we'll do is we'll curve these in. Okay, so these will be twisted in. So it'll be wide in the front, narrow in, and then narrow back out to our armrest.
Got a little sexy curve here.
Yeah, gonna make it look like a little hourglass figure. You like those?
Yeah, it looks good. So you're making a weapon, a gun. What's this?
These are the side pieces for the center console. So I copy the right side contours of the car and the left side, a little bit different. Basically, the console will be like this. These are the side pieces of the console.
Okay.
And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make these out of plastic. And reason being is I want it to look more factory, so it's not so square. So I'm gonna curve these in.
Okay.
I'm gonna do a curve in like this. Okay, so I'll make these plastic, heat them up. I'll make a little base on.
Of course, we're looking at the left side and the right side.
Correct.
Top, back.
Right. Okay. So yeah, this is if I was in the driver's seat. This is my armrest.
Right.
So then I'm gonna make another armrest that goes into this one. So it'll basically be another console that goes into it. So these.
Oh, this is the front?
This is the front. No. This is where the radio goes. Oh, the radio goes
Oh.
here. Radio goes here. We'll have some switches down here for the airbags.
Okay.
Okay, and then, or actually the airbags will be in here. Then I'll have another panel that goes here, armrest, on here. That piece will snap into this piece. So they're basically gonna overlap like this. Right, so when you're done, it'll look like this, kind of. I know that's confusing. So here, I'm copying the pieces from wood, transferring them over to a piece of expanded PVC plastic. And the reason that we use this plastic is because this plastic has a low heating temp, a low melting temperature. So it doesn't take a whole lot of heat to get this to mold the way you want it. So first we're gonna make 2 pieces of this, and that's gonna be an outside and an inside skin on each side. So it'll be a total of 4 pieces for the base, which are basically the sides of the console. And what I'm doing here is putting a rabbit edge on there, and that rabbit edge is specifically made for the vinyl that we'll be using it. That vinyl will tuck inside that little groove. So what you're seeing there is a little tiny little gap done with a rabbit bit, and the vinyl will tuck up all the way back until that edge, and that'll keep it in place, and it will also make our panel flat, so it'll be nice and flush, so the vinyl's not going to push out our panel at any point. And that's the reason we do that. Okay, so there you can see both sides. There's a right side and a left side. Right now they're template taped to each other backwards, which means you're looking at the actual inside. Even though I routed that side, that is actually the inside of the panel. So that little gap is only for the vinyl, and that's only so we have a nice transition of vinyl, so we don't see where one starts and the other one ends. Here's the jig that's been built, and what we're gonna do here is we've basically found a shape, a bottom base, made it out of MDF and squared it off the best we could, and we've clamped the front of the console together. So right now I'm making a couple pieces, and these 2 pieces are going to be so we don't leave marks on the plastic when we do heat it up. Because this plastic has a low melting temperature, we want to make sure that we don't embed any lines with our clamps. Okay, so there you can see the inside and the outside skin. Here I'm using the heat gun. I'm using 2 heat guns, and the reason I'm using 2 is I want both of them to heat up at the same time. So a lot of times in the past when we've used a heat gun on one side, too much on one side and not enough on the other, what you'll notice is that they don't bend the same. So here in this one, what we're doing is we're heating both sides equally, hitting the right side and the left side. And what we'll do is we'll gradually squeeze our templates in a little bit. You can see our blocks there, and they're basically going to go in a little bit at a time, and they're going to follow the contours of our brace on the bottom of our jig.
And you've never done this before?
Never done this. This is the
How
first
did you
time.
know this was going to work?
Well, it's plastic, so it's got to melt, right? It's got to bend. All plastic does bend with heat.
Okay.
So I did take a training and I saw Tom Miller do this on a center console they built, and I said, "Oh, I could do that. It seems pretty straightforward." So I just took some of the ideas that they had shown us there, some of the techniques that they gave us there in our training, and I incorporated it into my own. So there you can see that the plastic is actually contouring to my jig, and so we're gonna let it sit there, and then once it cools down, it's going to be the exact same shape that we're looking for, and it's nice and even. We don't have one side bent more than the other side.
So I just want to make sure it's symmetrical all the way through.
We have a jig we made to curve the console. So it'll be wide where the radio is. It'll narrow on down, and then that will let our other console snap into this one.
What are we seeing? This is the
Bottom of the dash.
stereo right here.
Stereo right here, and then we'll have our controls here, probably window switches, and then back over here we'll have our extended console, which goes to our armrest. We'll go here.
And there it is. And once it cooled down, did it bend back in any way, shape, or out of shape?
No, it doesn't. Once it cools down, it stays
It's locked in place.
It stays exactly the way it's supposed to.
Okay.
Yeah. Some other times what we've done here is actually
What's going up here?
that's where the head unit's going to go.
Okay.
And then down here will be the window switches. And then they'll incorporate into the center, the back piece of the console here. And so once the pieces are bent, we're going to now attach them to our main structure, which is made out of MDF. It's a 3/4 inch MDF. We do have the cutouts made here. The reason those cutouts are made there is for weight. We want to make sure we keep down the weight. Here you can see the top bezel made. Oh, I thought that was made out of plastic. I guess not.
What are these right here?
So those are the original templates.
Okay.
So we started off with stick tricks, and then we moved to a solid piece of 1/4 inch.
Okay.
This is the top piece that incorporates the radio bezel as well as the window switches, and that snaps into this bottom piece here. Here we started the upholstery process, and we have to make sure we pay attention to what we upholster. Here are our side pieces. This is our top piece. It's already been vinyl wrapped. There's a cutout for the window switches, and everything is gapped behind it. We have a rabbited behind each one to tuck that vinyl, and these also have our little rabbit edge that you saw before. These are the original designs of the contours for the rear console. So because it's a two-piece console, the rear contours were made to fit evenly. Okay, so here we have it completed. It's still on the test bench or on the wrapping bench. We have not transferred to the car, but we do one final mock-up before we install in the vehicle. Make sure that the radio fits, the window switches fit, and all of our gaps are correct. So that inside and outside vinyl were gapped evenly just to make sure that they do slide into each other. There's the original template that went into that little holder area in the front. And then in between these pieces of MDF, it's just 1/4 inch MDF with a little bit of body filler. So that is, okay, this is a trick that we use. It's called the smart pattern system. And what we do is we find our shape, and then once we find our shape, we make it even all the way around. Okay, so here we have the console assembled on our test bench just to make sure everything fits nice and snug and we don't have any gaps anywhere. There you can see the phone charger. We have everything gapped perfectly, and we make sure it fits in there before we put it in the vehicle. We want to make sure that we don't have to do this twice. There you can see the side accents, and those side trim pieces are going to overlap into the front section. This is before, so this is putting it together. This is before vinyl wrap. It's structurally assembled, but it really gives us an idea as to what it's going to look like. So it's starting to take shape at this point. So this is our armrest, and what we use here is a technique called stack fabbing, and it's really the only way that you can curve wood without using any kind of moisture. And we basically take a shape and we duplicate it over and over and over till we get the width that we need. Once we have that, then we can find a way to trim it out. Okay, here it is in the vehicle, just a mock-up. The front's already been wrapped, but we're test fitting the rear section of the console just to make sure everything lines up, our switches fit, our cup holder's good. Here's our mount for our wireless charger once again before we put the armrest on. This is before this is the straight lines, and right here all we're doing is we're getting the contours of the floor, and we're making sure that the top is perfectly level, so that those two lines are leveled perfectly. So here's another one where it's basically the console's just mocked up before its final wrapping. So there you can see the gap in the outside bezel of the switches and the wireless charger, which has a little door, and we'll put it for storage.
So here we have it, the 1976 Chevy Blazer center console is done. Beautiful piece of artwork here. Tell me what we have here from front to back. Go ahead and break it down modularly. What's inside material, We've seen the video, but give us a recap of what we're seeing here.
Okay, so we started off with the layout by putting the double din head unit. I believe this is a DNX 9504S, something like that. And this is a double din that does Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, motorized phase, DVD, CD, Bluetooth. It's got everything except Wi-Fi. And what we did is we kept it down low. Reason being is the customer wanted access to his ashtray here. So the only way we could get to that is most guys, when they build the console for this, they actually they come up all the way, and that covers up the ashtray. He didn't want to do that, so we want to keep some of that factory, okay? Because we do have this ashtray here, it's not going anywhere. So we started off with the head unit, and what I did is I made the smallest console we could possibly make underneath the dash there. Once we got that under the dash, customer also requested that I keep it down low. He wanted more of a low profile console, so I told him that wouldn't be a problem. Cup holders would have to be raised up a little bit, obviously for purpose of keeping them intact here while you're driving. You don't want it too shallow, so we had to go semi-deep. The inside of the cup holder was made out of ABS plastic, just in case he does spill a drink or something. We make sure that we can clean it up and it doesn't ruin any of the wood. So there is no wood on this top piece, and really the only thing that was made out of wood is, I would say, just the structure on the outside skin. But the actual structure and stuff, so inside you guys saw the skeleton, that is made out of wood. Everything else is plastic, and it's obvious because we're going to keep drinks around this area. Hopefully not lots of them, so we don't make a big mess in here, but that's going to keep the material from falling apart. So further back down the line, what we did is we installed the airbag switches for the vehicle, and I won't hit it now because we don't want to, but well, maybe I will. But that's the airbag switch, and what the customer wanted is, I know I'm going to use a pick here, but actually I should use a panel bumper. But what he did is he wanted me to install a removable airbag controller, and so I made a little tiny trim. This is also made out of plastic and wrapped in vinyl. And what's cool about this is now he can pull out the airbag switches, and he can use these outside of the vehicle. So we left him plenty of slack if he wants to control the airbags from the outside of the vehicle. So underneath the console, we left a little gap. And the gap is so we can install, or we can insert this cable here and put these back in their place. So they go right inside their housing here, and then you put the trim back on and it looks nice and finished, and he could use them in there or outside. On top of that, we went with a little bit fancier Matt Schaefer console, if anybody knows what Matt Schaefer is. Took a little inspiration from this guy, did a curve on top. We did follow the two-tone theme on here. So even though this piece is black in the center on top here, we followed it all the way down the center console. And that's to kind of match the aesthetics of the vehicle now, because that's the way it is now. We have a tan dash with a black instrument cluster, which is not in here now, but it has a black cluster. So we figured we'd leave all the control areas in the dark color and then do the lighter on the outside, which should be the same color as the seats. Right below the console, we installed the Qi charger, which is a wireless cell phone charger. It's made by Scosche. It does flush mount. It's got a magnet mount on there. It just uses a simple 12-volt power. Key goes on, it charges, key goes off, and then stops charging. So that's very, very simple. This guy threw in a little freebie for him, and it really wasn't supposed to be like this. We didn't talk about this, but I had a little bit of real estate left over, so I made him a flip door here, and we did a little storage compartment down below, just in case he wants to store something, maybe the documents for the vehicle or something. But so inside of our pocket area here is for storage, but on top of that, we made it super serviceable. So if this guy wants to come in and modify anything, we want to change the color of the interior, whatever it may be, because the top is made from plastic, it's very easily pressure fit and removable. So we can remove the top there, and now it gives us access to the compartments here. So if we want to do some nice cleaning here in the cup hold area, also with the switches, you can see how they have their own housing. They've been pretty modular in here, the way they're installed. You can see they're all attached to the frame. And then for serviceability purposes, this whole console comes out with only 2 bolts. And they are, one is below the cup holder here, we could just remove 2 screws and get to it. And the other is here below this piece here, which is pressure fit in here. And there you can see we have 1 1/4-20 bolt, and it is actually going through a threaded insert here in the bottom here. So we make sure that everything is threaded insert. We don't use any sheet metal screws, no drywall screws. Everything can be removed and reinstalled 100 times over without damaging any of the equipment. So you remove this piece here, these bolts come out, the whole console comes out with just only 2 screws. Same thing here in the front. This front piece is removable, has 1 1/4-20 going down to the center. And that's our shop bolt, that's our house size. We use 1/4-20 for 90% of our installation is using 1/4-20. So this is the top here again, and very simple, you just line it up. Actually, put the pocket back in, and then we install our cover and console shuts, and we're back together. If I'm going to build a speaker box in a certain location, I want to make sure that if the battery's under, the car battery's under, like a BMW, I want to make sure they can remove my enclosure to get to the battery, because that's pretty important. You got to be able to get to the battery. So everything we're working on is we're making sure that somebody's going to go in there. We're assuming that everybody's going to take apart our work. And when they take apart our work, we want them to find a bunch of different things. We want to find cool things. Number one, it was easy to disassemble. Number two, it's easy to reverse the process so they can reinstall it after they're done, right? And number three is fitment. We want to make sure everything fits correctly. So we want to make sure it's not falling apart when they take it apart. Does it fit back into the area? Yeah, that's got to make sure. So we got to be able to repeat the process. This is a repetitive business. We want to make sure that we can repeat all that. Just like when you go to the mechanic and he replaces your radiator, he puts back the original bolts. I mean, he didn't make new bolt holes unless you're going super modified. But
Which question is that?
that would be under system design. Workshop code show a complete process from conception to fabrication, including materials, accessibility of factory, components, placement of equipment, use of space functionality, and yeah, that's a very important one. Use of space and functionality. So cars aren't giving us a whole lot of real estate anymore. So now when we take a vehicle, we're trying to fit stuff in there, and they got a whole lot of stuff in there now. You know, we want to fit 10-inch subwoofers or 12-inch subwoofers. Well, we can't, because they got a computer in there, they got a battery in the trunk, or whatever it is. So we want to make sure our stuff fits in there. So very important that when we design it, we really look at the vehicle. Sometimes design changes. It's okay, as long as we find a good solution, because that's what we're here for. In the end, it's about finding a solution for all this stuff. Customer wants great sound. They want to make sure they have reliability. Our job is to find a solution for all that stuff. And that's what we're here for. We're here to solve their problem. So the fabrication process, it's like two different worlds. It's fabbing things up. It's being creative and being able to fab those up. Sometimes they don't work together very well, because you might have a very creative idea that doesn't make sense on the fabrication table. So once we're going to approach this, we want to make sure that it's doable. We want to make sure we don't put our foot in our mouth and say, yeah, we can do that. We can, put this, 24-inch TV in your instrument cluster or whatever it is. So the last few years, I've really focused in on improving my fabrication techniques. And the reason for that is because that's what separates me from everybody else. Everybody can drop in a speaker, take off the door panel and put it in the factory location, but not everybody can build a pod. Not everybody can make an A-pillar, not anybody can make a kick panel. So by learning these techniques over the past few years, that has really separated me from the bunch. So here's the herd of all these installers, and here's me. And because of that, I find other shops asking for my services because I build things that they can't, because they haven't invested the time, the practice, the money, or the training in these areas. And that's something that I have done. I've been practicing for 25 years, believe it or not. I practice on my own vehicles and I practice on customer cars every single day to get better. And this is how we get better. That's how we improve. Practice, practice, practice. So the techniques that I'm using now are nothing like what I used a year or 2 years ago. I've grown 150%, and I want to keep growing. That's what I want to do. That's how I will be better than the rest. That's how my labor charges. 5 years ago, I was charging $65 an hour, $75 an hour. Right now, if you bring in your own product, I'm $125 an hour. My minimum rate here just to come into the shop is $100 an hour, and I'll take that as long as I can get my techs or myself to make $100 an hour. I'm comfortable with that because we're making money and the customer's happy. So the only way to do that is to be better than the next guy. And how are you better than the next guy? You get better trainings, you get better technique. Okay, and here we go. This is going to be how we install brackets. We've actually taken the quarter panel of this vehicle that goes around the wheel well. Here you can see it's tubbed out, as they call it, so it can have a lowered body suspension. And So we've set a couple brackets there, quarter 20 bolts, and threaded entered some L brackets. And that's how we're holding this panel to the side of the vehicle. This is a blazer we're working on. And that's a 6x9 opening. We made a little curve there, a little contour. And so what we're trying to do now is we're going to put this panel on top to cover up all the ugliness. And that'll require for us to fasten it in there, but also make it removable so it is serviceable. And everything does have to be serviceable, so we'll have to make this removable. And here's a little trick I do. So when I'm building this panel, I'm always 7 steps ahead in everything we do. That's kind of our rule around here. And so we've got these areas here, and we've left them open for the reason of making a block. And so what these blocks will do is, when I attach my piece here, these will be glued to these inserts, and then the panel can be removed and put back on because it's got the lined up little guides there. Okay. And so one of the problems we run into is if I've made it too short, then that's the lowest point here. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to remove this, and this is pretty inexpensive repair or fix for just making it a little bit off. It's, you know, we're adapting to what we made. So this is just headliner material, and we've gone ahead and cut a couple pieces, and all we have to do is set these in here. And so now when I put the block back in there, it's now raised. So you can see it's popped up maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. And so now I can put my panel on top, and when I glue it down, I'll press down, I'll remove that pressure from that foam spacing in there, and that'll put back pressure on me, and now I'll have a perfectly made piece. Okay, and I'll go ahead and do that all 3 times. I went ahead and made an insert here for the front, and that one also sits a little low in the back. So what we'll do is we'll remove this and cut a little piece of foam here. There you go. There's the foam. It's just headliner, the backing, and we set that in there, and now you can see it sticks up enough to where when I press on the panel, it's going to be the highest point. Okay, so we'll go ahead and do that 3 times. That one also sits just a tad bit low, and so I'll go ahead and put a couple pieces in there. This process we're using Mobile Solutions CA glue, cyanacrylate, and this is the accelerator for it. There are different brands out there. I think Brand gives us a good deal. It's come with big giant bottles, pretty reasonably priced if you compare it to like the local stores or hobby shop. You get that stuff there too. And so what we'll do is we're going to try to cover a good amount of surface area. Just want to make sure that you spread it out enough. There's no reason that I'm making an X. It's just covering the area. We'll do that on all 3 pieces. Okay. Don't want to get any of that on the outside, because if it leaks over, it's going to stick to your main panel. And these are just going to be temporary. We'll actually fasten it down with some hardware. Just make sure we get a couple screws in there. Okay, so I will need my other hand for this. I'm pressing it down. It only takes about 10 seconds for this glue to set with the accelerator. And when we remove the panel, we now have 3 blocks that are guided in to these areas. So we take out the foam pieces. Okay. Now we set this back in there. That piece locks in. You get very little play. Now we're still gonna make one more lip here, just to kind of accent and go along with the console that we made, and following that theme throughout the whole vehicle. And then to remove it, we put 2 brackets and then 1 threaded insert, and basically they screw down here, and then this whole panel is removable. So now if he has access or wants access to any of this, it's completely serviceable.
What's going to go down inside here, or is this just a beauty panel?
This is just a beauty panel, and then this is where the wiring goes. However, there is just an emergency override for the air tank. So the air system, in case his compressor stops working, he can actually fill it up manually, okay? Or he can dump the air.
How do these brackets work?
So these are basically just 2 quarter 20 bolts. They're drilled right to the sidewall of the quarter panel, and then we've bent the angle to where we want it, and then put a threaded insert, which then goes and lines up with this top panel, and then screws right down. So here, I'll pop one on there for you. One there,
one here in the front. And then there is one more in the front there, I'll get to it right now. And then this piece will just slot in.
That's it?
That's it, yeah. And we'll have another lip. We're gonna put another decorative lip in the front, on the side here. And that's gonna cover up our ugliness here. So it's got a little ugly area in it. We'll cover that up. We'll do maybe a two-tone color here, probably black on top, tan in the center. And then that's gonna match our center console.
All right.
But on this one, what I was gonna say is that when I do this, sorry. So when we take this off, what I want to show is there's actually a tool. This is one of my favorite tools. These are our threaded inserts, quarter 20, you can see on the side here. That's our house bolt. Okay, and what this is,
Rivet.
so what happens here is I basically take a threaded insert, I make a hole 23/64. I slide that in there and I crimp it, and then when you're done, you get what looks like down here. You see like a little crimp on the bottom there. Okay, it does a pinch and the bolt will hold that right in.
Beautiful. Is this a rivet gun?
It's a threaded riveter. So instead of it's a threaded insert, we call them, or a nutsert. And the way they work is, if you were to screw this in, you slide it in the hole and you squeeze these, and that crimps that on there. So it's almost exactly like a rivet, only has a thread inside.
All right.
Hold that, takes about 10 seconds to set.
Yeah.
So this is a finished view of the quarter panels. They go right alongside that wheel well. They got that top accent on there, which was wrapped all the way to the end to cover up the flaw. There's our grill, and it's actually pressed and it's bent at an angle there, along with our grill, to fit the contours of the panel. Okay, so here at the shop, we're all about growing. We're all about growth. We're trying to get better for our next build. And we've just invested. It just showed up yesterday. We haven't connected it yet, but this is our new laser. So we'll be using this to make all our new shapes. Here, I'll open it up for you. It's quite an investment for us, but I think it makes sense for the type of work we do. I think it's something that's gonna make us grow. It's gonna make us better, faster, more efficient. And in the end, you know what it's gonna make? It's gonna make more money. And that's what we need, more money so we can keep growing. All right, got it. Professional and personal growth over the last year has been by hiring more help. Otherwise, super stubborn kind of person. And I didn't want to give anybody the power to do anything. I wanted to control everything. So I hired my sons a few months ago, and it's been amazing. They're growing, they're learning, and they're happy to be here. But I wanted to hire somebody that I could learn from. So I hired a guy that had experience. And it's expensive, but I took my chances because I too want to grow. I want to learn from somebody that's been in the industry, that loves this, that's passionate for it, just like I am. So I hired a guy, and I don't regret it one bit. I think that it takes a little bit of process to
to a little bit of time and patience to learn how to work with someone. But I'm super grateful for the change I made. I have to stop being stubborn and just learn to let go a little bit. I can't do every installation myself. I can definitely give them guidance and I can give them direction, but I cannot physically do every single job that rolls to my shop. So I hired a guy, and I think that both professionally and personally, it's helped me grow. And I'm, like I said, I'm not resenting it one bit. I've learned. In fact, he's only been here, and you guys only been here a little under a month, and I've gained a whole lot of knowledge just from his point of view, because sometimes you need more than one point of view, not just yours. There is more than one way to do things right, and so that's pretty cool that I was able to see some of those things from him. However, one of the things that he has to acknowledge is that this is my business, and I added a lot of value to it. So my input means everything here, because these customers are my customers, and they expect to come here and deal with me and have my type of installation. So that's something that I think that he also values, the fact that I have a certain style of doing things. I want to do things right, and I think I project that amongst everyone. So my sons do come to me more often and say, hey, is this okay with you? Are we doing this the right way? And I either give them a yes or no. So I think in that aspect, I think that I'm the head of the operation. I'm the brains of the operation. So I think that they really, really appreciate that. They support me, and they know that I'm the one making the final decision. So sometimes we have to make a call, whether it's them or me, but in the end, it all comes down to me. So I impact these employees a whole lot, because they're looking for the right way to do things, and they're basically looking for my way. Because I always tell them, there are three ways to do things. There's the right way, the wrong way, and then there's my way. Okay, so my role as a fabricator / installer is I'm here to inspire others. I want to make sure that everybody understands that there is a right way to do this. There's a process for this. And so through social media, through the internet, I'm constantly posting pictures. I'm putting my work out there, and I'm showing other people the way it should be done. So my role in this industry is to make others better. I want people to keep up with me and better their installation. I see a few guys online and they're doing things the wrong way. Honestly, they're not doing it right. Some of it's a little bit cheesy. It's not professional at all, and they shouldn't be putting work out there. So my role here is to do better work and to inspire others to do better work. So my expectations of mine are high. I mean, people expect a lot from me. So I want to make sure that I'm putting the best possible work out there. I want to influence as much as I can in this industry. If I die one day, I'm not taking anything with me, but I want to make sure that I left my mark, and I left all of the good things that I was able to do in this industry. I left it for others to follow. I left a good base point, a good footprint in there for them to learn from it, for them to grow from. And that's why I constantly post pictures, even though I'm putting myself out there and having people judge me, whether it be good or bad. Some people like my ideas, some people hate them. I wouldn't say hate them, but some people don't like them as much as others. But the people that do like my ideas constantly tell me that. They say, hey, thanks for the inspiration. Thanks for doing this build. But why would you do this? And I'm constantly answering them. I don't ignore them. I try to answer everybody I can. If it's through social media, you'll see I'm constantly posting things, and I'm not going anywhere. So if you're a friend of mine on social media, get used to it, because I'm not going anywhere. We're going to keep building stuff as much as we can, and we're going to try to do it the best way. We're going to try to show all the techniques. We don't want to give up all of our secrets, but we want to make sure that the structure of what we're doing is there. We want to set those boundaries. We want to make sure that people are doing good work, and that's my job. It's people expect me to do a good job, and I'm supposed to do good work, get that good stuff out there.
Jordan.
He was different than everybody else.
How?
You could tell that Jordan practiced over and over and over to be the best at what he was.
How much practice do you think you put into it? Like literally.
Just as much as I do in doing this now. I mean, it's the truth.
We're talking about the moment he woke up
Well, people
till
work.
the moment he went to sleep. all he did was practice.
Right. So
The moment you wake up,
yeah,
what are you doing?
even before I wake up, I dream about this.
Okay.
And when I wake up, before I hit my feet hit the ground, all I'm thinking about is that day.
How far ahead are you pre-planning and preparing every?
Well, I take it one day at a time, okay, because otherwise I'll stress myself out with the amount of builds that we have. But I'm thinking weeks in advance. And everything that I do now, whenever we're building something, we're 7 steps ahead in anything we do. So when I'm making a panel or I'm wiring something, I'm not thinking about just this wire. I'm thinking 7 steps ahead. Where am I going to be 7 steps ahead of this? That's why I have to plan. I have to plan for this. So to me, Michael Jordan is one of the best basketball players of all time. And I'm not a Jordan fan. I'm more of a Laker fan, but I'm not a Jordan fan. I don't hate him, but I love his work ethic. I think he is where he is because he put in the time. And that's what nobody's willing to do. But me, I'm willing to put in the time. And that's what I've done. For the last 25 years, I've broken my back to be the best at this game. And that's what I'm doing today. I'm working super late night. I'm putting in those hours. I'm getting better and better and better. And I'm doing it through practice, just like Michael Jordan did it. That's why he was the best. There's nobody better than that guy because he put in the hours. He put in the time. Our hours here at the shop are 9 to 6. Well, here, I'm thinking about the 12-volt industry from the time I wake up to the time I go to bed. And even in my dreams, I dream about this stuff. I love this so much. Nobody's got more love for this industry than me. That's why I should be installed of the year.